Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to talk about the IRA weapons during the Troubles, as you saw in the title. So I'm not going to do a whole history lesson on the Troubles, just like I didn't do that for the Vietnam War one that I just did and finish up. So we're probably only going to do this in one big video because I don't really think I missed much, to be honest. I even checked how many weapons I missed. Got a whole list of their weapons. I am gonna be doing the weapons in two different chunks. There's the bigger detailed list, and then there's just me firing down the list because I found there was a ton of weapons I missed, which that was because of the fact I was that's a lot of weapons that I feel were used but not listed. So I just went and searched them up. So you'll see that later on. But yeah. So let's get started with this video. I'll start from the top about the quick little history lesson on the Troubles. And so to start off talking about the Troubles, I want to say that I'm not going to do a whole history lesson this video on the Troubles. I don't know if I ever will. I might one day, but not right now, because it's a very confusing it's a very confusing thing for me to learn about, but I'm sure one day I'd be able to look into it a bit more, maybe do a whole video dedicated to it. But maybe before I do that, I'd want to do a whole thing of the weapons of the Troubles, even for the British Army or the other factions or whatever you'd really want to say fighting in the Troubles. But to start this off, the Troubles refers to a 30-year period of sectarian violence in Northern Ireland, from the late 1960s to 1998, and the IRA desired Northern Ireland to leave the United Kingdom, or UK for short if you want to say that, and unite with the Republic of Ireland. And so now, with that short little bit out of the way, we can get into the weapons of the IRA during the Troubles. The way I'm going to do this is just a ton of detail, and then I'm going to have a list somewhere that I'm not sure which section it's going to go in this video, but figure it out. It's going to basically just be, at one point, me just rapid firing, names of guns, because the list is rather confusing. When I was looking at this, I got all this information here, and then I had to do further research because I was that's not a lot of guns. There's no way that's all the ones they used, which, lo and behold, that was not. So I have a ton of other ones that I just didn't add to these sections. So that's basically what I'm going to be, I'm just going to go over it from top to bottom, essentially, and just do it that way, like how I usually do it. So we're going to get into that now. So the provisional IRA's arsenal during the Troubles primarily relied on smuggled American and European firearms, Libyan state-sponsored shipments, and improvised weaponry. Their most iconic and lethal tools included the American-made Army 18, Soviet bloc AK-47s, and vast amounts of imported Semtex plastic explosives. And on a separate page, I have the other weapons in distinct categories. But one thing I want to mention is the use of car bombs, which I'm going to talk about towards the end of the video, since I'll probably have that down in my notes towards the end. So I'll probably go into that in the final segments of the video. So to start this off, we're going to go over the assault and battle rifles, which we're going to start off with the Armalite AR-18 as the first one, and the AR-15, which were heavily utilized due to their lightweight design and ease of concealment, becoming a symbol of the Republican campaign. And later in the conflict, in 1972, the IRA began receiving large shipments from Libya, which supplied Soviet-designed AK-47 variants, which were from Romania and some other places as well. Keep that in mind. as well as the FNFAL, which, if memory serves me correctly, is a gun made by the Belgians, oddly enough, if memory serves me correctly on that, and Heckler and Koch G3 rifles, which I believe is also a German gun, if memory serves me correctly. You'll hear that a lot in this video, the memory serves me correctly, so, for machine guns, for suppressive fire and to target British Army helicopters, the IRA used M60 general-purpose machine guns and heavy Soviet DSHK machine guns. Never figure out how to say that, really. Dishka, I don't know. And then we're going to get on to the explosives and IEDs in the next part. So throughout this video, you're going to hear me mispronounce stuff quite often. I'm sure that's kind of the case with some of my videos quite often. But there is a few words I can already tell I'm going to be mispronouncing, at least one for sure. So we're going to get started on the explosives and IED part. So the IRA extensively manufactured improvised bombs using commercial supplies like gelignite, and later highly stable military-grade Semtex smuggled from Libya. And the IRA would start smuggling Czech-made explosive Semtex from Libya in the mid-1980s, while Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, was in power as leader of Libya, with the most notable shipment run arriving in 1986. And they would also utilize the RPG-7 rocket launchers, and they would also utilize SAM-7 anti-aircraft missiles. So to get on to the last few detailed sections that I have written down here before I start basically firing off on weapons and stuff like that I have a list of that I went back and did research on after doing this detailed list. We're going to get on to improvised mortars, and then we're going to start on handguns. So the IRA developed unique homemade mortars, such as the Mark 10, which were often mounted on trucks to fire heavy shells at fortified police and military bases. Wish I could have found a picture of one. Maybe I'll have to see if before I upload this and start editing this and all that, if I can find a picture of one, probably put it up now if I find it. So that is what a Mark 10 mortar looks like. So now we're going to get on to the handguns that they used, which, by the way, there's more handguns and guns than they used than what I was just mentioning before this and during this. So I'll go over the list literally right after this handgun section. So for close quarters operations and assassinations, operatives frequently favored pistols such as the Browning High Power, which, by the way, never shot one. Would love to shoot one day. It's really nice looking pistol. To me, it makes me think of a rich man's 1911, I guess you could call it, but I don't know what you'd really want to call it. And the Webley revolver, which, interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure was the 455 caliber one. That's probably pretty vague, but, it's one of the older, heavier caliber ones, because I'm pretty sure they would eventually want a much smaller caliber after a while. So, so we're going to get onto this whole list of weapons that I'm just going to rapid fire on, essentially. Just, probably a dozen or more weapons that I missed on, the whole assault rifles and battle rifles and all this other ones, up to the handguns that I missed. So we're going to get into those now. So now we're going to rapid fire down the list of guns that I missed, and we're going to start off with the Colt Car 15, L1A1 SLR, Ruger Mini 14, M1 Garand, Lee Enfield, Thompson SMG, M3 Grease Gun, Bren Gun, Uzi, Colt 1911, Glock 17, Taurus PT-92, and the Barrett M82 50 cal, which, interestingly enough, I couldn't find any pictures used of, but there were uses of it, so I really wonder what they used it for. Would be interesting to find out more about that. Maybe, that'd be worthy of a short. I don't know. Would be interesting though. So there is more weapons that they used, but that's on a different page. So I'm going to flip to it, and we're going to do the next section of the video, which I'll be talking about car bombs soon. For anyone who remembers, I mentioned that earlier. I'm going to be mentioning that on that page or something like that, so we'll see how that goes. So now we're on to the final bits of the detailed weapons that they used, and then we're on to the usage of car bombs, which I have a whole page on car bombs right here in my notes. So they would also use flamethrowers, interestingly enough, which there is actually an instance of it. Specifically, it was the Soviet LPO-50 models, which were smuggled into the country in the mid-1980s by the Libyans, which I talked about earlier, how they got them in there, that sort of thing, through shipping. So, most notable combat use of these flamethrowers in Northern Ireland occurred on December 13th, 1989, during an IRA attack on the British Army's Darrayard checkpoint in County Fermanagh. Now, I most likely mispronounced that, but I believe that is how it's pronounced based on its spelling. And also note that the IRA also would... I wanted to note this just for the sake of... It's not really a weapon that they would smuggle in that I want to talk about. It is more of how they got U.S. weapons that I want to talk about. So, the IRA began actively smuggling weapons from the U.S. around 1969 at the outbreak of the Troubles, and while an older network established in the 1950s provided some early stocks of small arms and World War II surplus weapons, which why they have Bren guns and some other stuff, the major influx of modern high-powered firearms such as Armalite rifles, which very popular in the Troubles for songs and other stuff, even in photos, as you can see in the photos that I've shown so far throughout this video, began in the early 1970s, specifically in 1971. The Irish Republican Army, or the IRA, revolutionized and popularized the use of the car bomb as a tactical weapon of urban warfare, utilizing it to devastate commercial infrastructure, target British security forces, and apply economic pressure on the British government. And while an early prototype was used back in 1922 by the anti-treaty IRA, the modern car bomb became a defining, devastating signature of the provisional IRA's campaign in the Troubles. Passenger cars, vans, and commercial trucks provided a mobile, unassuming delivery system. They allowed operatives to transport hundreds of pounds of commercial or homemade explosives directly into high-security urban centers undetected. Beyond the primary blast, the vehicles themselves produced lethal shrapnel and caused extensive secondary structural damage to surrounding buildings. To minimize civilian casualties, the IRA frequently called in telephoned warnings using recognized code words. However, these warnings were often flawed, late, or intentionally misleading, frequently resulting in mass civilian casualties. So that was a lot of reading there, not just on the car bomb part, but throughout this whole thing. Definitely a lot more reading than when I was doing my Vietnam War videos for the Viet Cong. So that's probably why I'm looking down at my notes a lot more, especially on the car bomb page. Like, seriously, it is a whole page of just research that I did. So realistically, sorry that I have to look down so much. It's just really hard to memorize it, so I have to look down quite a bit, and just reading it out the corner of my eye is not as easy because I have to actually look at it a little more. So hopefully y'all understand that. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. Hopefully y'all found it pretty informative. I don't know if there's any weapons I missed. I actually think there is one I might have missed based on one of the pictures I showed in this video. It was the Luty SMG. I believe it's spelled Luty or something like that. Though I don't know if that's what it was in the picture. It's kind of hard to say. So, I mean, I believe it was the guy in the IRA who was standing in front of the Irish flag. He was holding up a Luty, I think it was. That's the picture I'm talking about. I'm sure you can find it and maybe debate that a little bit, see if that's what it was. Because if so, that is one of them I missed. If that is one of them they used, or if that's just some picture, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I think it would be interesting to figure out which my next one would be, because I'm not really sure if I'm going to cover the Troubles in my next one, which I don't have to. I could cover a whole different time period, like World War I or II, if I wanted to, with this, because I want to kind of be able to jump around through conflicts and not do the same conflict 20 times or anything like that. But I think if I do World War II, what I was thinking about, or even World War I, is do, or even American Civil War, is not do throughout the war, but rather through certain battles what weapons were used, when they were used, because World War II, the American Civil War, and World War I were rather long wars. And I mean, yeah, Vietnam was too, but sometimes it's not as hard to debate those weapons that were used in that war than in World War II, because that was back when weapon development, in my eyes at least, was a lot more changing than it was in Vietnam, because by then you already had the AK-47, you were starting to get the M16, that sort of thing. So, I mean, it would probably be different if I did the American Army and all that in Vietnam. You know, it'd be a little more of a part 1 and 2 video, I'm sure, but maybe a bit of longer ones. I don't know. Like, it's just really a bit of debating on how I want to do this series, because this is just gonna probably be the only video I do on the IRA in the Troubles. I don't think I'll do a part 2, because I think I covered a good chunk of it, because I was pretty thorough on my research on this one. So like, if there's a ton I missed, let me know, but if not, I think I can probably cover what I missed in a short. So yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video, and yeah, let me know what other armies throughout history you'd like me to cover. Keep in mind, I'm trying to keep this to when guns were made and all that stuff, so 1700s to like now, because I mean, like 1700s to present day, what guns were used in combat, that sort of thing, by a certain army. So, reason I say 1700s, because I think, to me at least, in my eyes, I think that's when a lot more differentiating guns were, like, a little more common. But then again, to be fair, that also is probably a tiny bit not true, because I'm sure they had plenty of other different guns back then. But I'm more of thinking, like, past the whole era of muskets and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know, this is just a big yap session. I'm sure if I get a recommendation, I'll do it most of the time, depending on what they recommend, and I'll probably broaden my horizons with this series as I go on and figure it out, because this is still like an early concept for the series. So I mean, just recommend anything y'all want to see down below. I'll think about it, look into it, that sort of thing. So yeah, just let me know down below what y'all want to see. I was thinking World War II, maybe do a certain battle for a certain army. Like, for example, if you want to see the weapons that the Germans or the Soviets used in the battle at Leningrad or something like that, say Soviets at Leningrad, Germans at Leningrad, or Germans at Stalingrad, that sort of thing. Because I want to be a little more specific about that, just because I feel like, while yes, you could just say, well, you know, on the Soviet front they probably would use Soviet weapons too, but on the Western Front, I want to be a little more specific about that because I feel like if I just did German weapons in World War II, it would be so vague because, someone might end up doing in a Lego mock a PPSH on the Western Front. So, something I want to avoid. So I would rather just cover the battles themselves that people are interested in. Also, for this series, I would love to do American Civil War. So if anyone's curious about that, maybe at some point I'll do like a Battle of Ulusty, weapons used by the Confederates and Union. That would be 2 separate videos if I did that. So, I think that would be the best way of going about this series because of the fact that certain weapons were common, certain weapons were not common, or certain weapons were used, certain weapons were not used, which is something I'm finding out. So that's why I want to do it more by battle for most of these. Besides, depends really, But let me end this big yap session. It's already 7 minutes on this particular clip. So yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day and a great night, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. Just let me know down below what y'all would like to see, and I'll see you all in the next one.